Hello everyone and welcome to the VIP bi-weekly webinar series by Agency Platform. My name is Paul. And today we're going to be talking about client retention, and we're going to be talking about components of our reporting as well as the dashboard that will help you to retain your clients for a longer period of time. So before I get started here, if you guys can do me a favor, if you can give me a shout out in the chat, let me know if you can hear me okay and see my screen okay. Okay, awesome, great. So whenever it comes to client retention, of course, there's going to be different strategies for that based on the type of service that you're offering. So primarily, I'll be talking about local SEO or SEO in general and ways to improve client retention there, but also just client management in general. How many of you online have had at least one client that you had to let go because they were unhappy for whatever reason that you wish your client retention was better? When we do business planning strategy sessions with individual agencies, usually the client retention duration that we set just for business planning is somewhere between 6 and 9 months, to be conservative, to be very conservative at 6 months. But to retain clients can be a bit tricky in the SEO ballgame because there's a lot of different ways to show momentum, and I think that it gets confusing for people how to do that. So let's talk a little bit about how to go about retaining a local SEO client. So whenever you have a local SEO client, which is probably the hottest service that we offer for the majority of local businesses, they're always going to want to see movement, momentum, right? Which usually most agencies that I speak to will commonly say, well, my client only wants to get more business. They want to make more money. They pay me for a local SEO campaign. They want to make more money. Well, yeah, that makes sense, but it's difficult to track how people found the local business, particularly if they transact with their clients offline. So take, for example, well, a dentist or a chiropractor, or maybe even a cosmetic surgeon for that matter. Someone goes online, they click on the paid advertisement that then could take them to the website, or maybe they simply Googled a keyword and found them, and then they found their phone number or contact us page, they were interested, and then they wrote down the address, drove to the dentist or chiropractor or plumber for that matter, and made a payment in person in their brick and mortar shop or building. So how do you go about tracking from online traffic to an offline transaction? And I know you might be wondering, why am I talking about online traffic to offline transactions when the topic matter is about client retention? Here's why. Because it's good for you to set expectations with the client on what you are and are not able to do. And one of the ways for me to best introduce this to you is to identify some of the limitations that you're going to run into with tracking, so that maybe you can help to manage the expectations on what you can and cannot track or are not willing to track whenever you're in your initial sales discussions. Additionally, will lead into what is the client responsibility. You can send all the traffic you want to a client, but if they can't close anybody, they're going to have a problem. So whenever you get an online lead, and by the way, I'm inside the dashboard in the demo account, and I'm going to go to, for right now, lead management. Now, when someone's online, and whether they clicked on an advertisement or they Googled a keyword and they found your client's website, they go onto the website, and it's unless they're an e-commerce store or they're selling digital goods, you're going to have a really hard time tracking who was on the website, how did they find the website, right? So you can do a proper marketing attribution. 2, who transacted offline. So why is it so hard to figure out who paid your client and how they found them? Shouldn't that be really easy? Well, it could be, but normally it's not. Google, as well as Facebook, struggle with this very deeply, and that is attributing offline transactions. And by offline transactions, I simply mean someone walked into a brick and mortar storefront and made a transaction. Two, how did they find me online? Part of the problem with it is that whenever people walk into a store to make a transaction, the employees do not ask them, how did you find us? And if they do ask them, how did you find us, they're usually going to get a generic answer from the client or customer in the form of, oh, I found you online, or I found you on Google. But that's not specific enough. I found you on Google could have been that they Googled your direct business name and the business came up. And that doesn't count because maybe their friend originally told them about the dental clinic, for example, and then they Googled the name and they said, how'd you find us? They say, oh, I Googled you, but that's not the origin. So proper attribution tracking on how someone found you is hard to do, and you got to be a little aggressive with it if it's a verbal question by an employee in the storefront, or if it's even a form that they fill out. There's going to have to be someone there that's going to have to clarify and pin down how exactly did you find us. And it matters because you might have Googled me, but what if, for example, you saw a banner advertisement about me first, and that's what prompted you to Google my name. And then that would be attributed to a paid advertising campaign on client acquisition as opposed to an SEO campaign. So all those fine details get really crazy. Just trust me on it whenever I say I could sit here and talk 3 hours, much longer than 3 hours, about the difficulties of proper marketing attribution tracking. And that's just marketing attribution tracking. I'm not even talking about tracking the monetary amount of money that the client spends. So attribution tracking for local businesses that transact offline, which is the majority of all of them, is going to be very difficult. And I would say difficult to the degree of 95% plus of agencies out there are not going to want to step into those waters of really deep attribution tracking. The agencies that I know that do deep attribution tracking are literally selling their services on a per lead basis. That's how they're justifying their service, and usually their services run anywhere from $2,500 a month to $7,000 a month. It's higher end stuff. So that's the issue with proper attribution tracking. Let's talk about the problem with tracking a marketing ROI. So, like I said, someone finds your client online, and then they go into their storefront and they transact. If you were to track the monetary value of a lead that converted, that could be difficult. Let's take a dentist, for example. How much money did that dentist make off of this lead that you brought them through SEO? Good luck. If there's an insurance company involved and it's billed out to an insurance company, whether or not they were paid would play a factor. And then, of course, if that person came in and they transacted for, let's say, a free teeth cleaning and a promotional teeth whitening, they would have paid a minimum amount of money, but the dentist is really going to mop up whenever, 6 months later, they come in and bring other family members and get a root canal and veneers or whatever else. So then there's a lifetime value of a client that would need to be averaged and figured out. Not to mention, how many of you know your exact ROI margins on the services that you offer? And be honest there. How many of you know? I mean, you have to factor in if you have any employees, software overhead. If you want to factor in your own salary, you have to divide it up, and it's always fluctuating, right? So even be able to identify profit margins on a service would be difficult. So my main point is, particularly with local clientele, tracking a marketing ROI was going to be difficult. It's doable. It's very difficult. Tracking the money, very hard, especially whenever it's a reoccurring client. And then, of course, there's a lot of manual labor involved because you got to export that financial data. You got to literally compare it to whatever marketing data that you have, and good luck with that. Google and Facebook address this issue. If you've ever ran a paid advertising campaign and you're a paid advertising practitioner in Google or Facebook, you would know that for clients that transact offline, that there is a way to deal with this. And with all of the many, many millions of dollars that Google and Facebook combined have put into R&D to tackle this problem, what brilliant idea have they both come up with to address the issue? Well, it's called exporting your data from your offline transaction system, putting it into the equivalent of a CSV or Excel sheet, and uploading it to Google or Facebook, and they're going to run it through their little system and see if they can get a match on, if you're lucky, 40% of the data. And that's as good as it gets with Google and Facebook. So, long story short, if you want to dial in proper marketing attribution tracking for, a stereotypical local client and tie that into some sort of an ROI analysis, you're going to have a really big battle on your hands. And I recommend only for the highest end of clients that are paying you a lot of money that you offer to do that, because it should be a high-end practitioner that's doing it. You're going to be handling a lot of sensitive information, and it's going to be very tedious. With that being said, I want to introduce the lead management interface to the dashboard that, of course, has a little new sign on it. It's not so new, but we have a new lead management overview interface. And I want to talk to you about how we label leads and why we label them the way that we do, and how you can use this interface to help with client retention. And now that I have spoken about the difficulties with the higher level attribution tracking, I did that to set up why lead management in the format that we have it is in the format that we have it. So let's talk about a level of lead management that will be easier for you, 100% automated on your end if it's set up properly. And because of the difficulties that I spoke about with proper attribution and marketing ROI tracking, why this is appropriate, and particularly appropriate for the majority of all local clients that you're going to run into. So as clearly as I assume you can see on my screen, and I'm not mistakenly sharing a different screen like I have before, you see that we do call tracking, form tracking, and we track live chats being initiated. Yeah. And we call that lead management. Now, would it be correct to say that every single phone call that would come through the call tracking is going to be a lead? Or that every single form that's filled out on the website is going to be a lead? Or that every single live chat that is instigated is going to be a lead? Right, thanks, Blaine. No, it's not. However, it is an indicator of activity. It's an indicator of engagement, right? And I also think that it's important for any marketing agency to establish your boundary between marketing and business consulting. And, what's the difference between marketing and business consulting? Oh, geez, I open these topic matters as if we have hours to talk about here. Anyone want to give a shout out in the chat? What's the difference between marketing and business consulting? Have you ever been engaged in a consultation with a client, whether or not it's initial free consultation or one of your monthly meetings, and all of a sudden you're in a business consultation that really has not as much to do about marketing as it has to do with just general business consulting? Maybe it's about their profit margins, which really has nothing to do with marketing. Maybe it has to do with how the competition is converting their leads because they have better promotions or because they have better front desk staff. Really has nothing to do with marketing. Or maybe it has to do with how they get their leads that they have to pay them money. That's more about sales. Yeah, thanks, Blaine. Maybe I should be saying the word sales more than business consulting. But there's a lot of lines that get blurred from the marketing path to business consulting and sales consulting. And you got to be careful where you put your foot down in that, because your time is valuable and chances are you don't have consultants standing by. And if you get trapped up in these conversations, you're giving your time away for free. And whenever it comes to client retention, if you ever want to stay away from those clients that are going to give you a nightmare, that are always bugging you, make sure that you make it very clear that your time is to be respected, the same way that the time would be respected on if you hired an attorney and called them and they had an hourly rate of $350 an hour. Are you going to call them and pick their brain? Oh, well, I'd have to be picking their brain about something that was very important to me at $350 an hour, knowing the clock's running. So it's important to understand the difference between marketing consulting and where the sales side and business consulting side starts. And I state that because if you're going to provide lead tracking statistics on calls, forums, and live chats instigated, how would you be able to identify what phone calls are a lead or not? Well, maybe it was an existing client that they had that had cycled back through and they found them online again, and they're coming back and they're now interested in sales again. It's a recurring client. Is that a new lead? Would it be considered a new lead? Is it your business? If a contact form was submitted, depending on whatever it said, could it be a lead? Maybe someone submitted a contact form saying, hey, I'm wondering if you offer this service. Or they're submitted a contact form about something else that was more related to support, but it could be an opportunity to upsell. And then the same with live chat. So what is a lead and is not a lead is not for the majority of your clientele. I don't think it's your prerogative or even your responsibility to identify and clarify exactly what is every single lead. Normally that would be handled by a sales team. Now, the typical local client is not going to have a sales team. In fact, the chances are whoever is handling their sales wears at least one other primary hat in the company. For example, for a dentist, it may be the front desk representative that is handling their sales. The same for a chiropractor. For some other companies, of course, like a roofing company, they may have a particular sales guy, and for larger local businesses, they may have a sales team. Point being, from a marketing standpoint, these are more classifiable as marketing leads, and it's most normal for marketing agencies to categorize, hey, I set up a call tracking number on your website. This is the amount of phone calls that was generated. I'm going to lop it into the category of leads. This is the amount of contact forms that were filled out, and these are the amount of live chats that were instigated. Falls underneath lead management. And it's not that you're saying that every single one of these are leads, but what are you saying? Well, this is how much activity was generated. This is how much went from traffic to actual engagement at this level, which I'm going to lob into lead management. And why? Because these are the things that need to be addressed by the client's company. And it's up to the staff within the client's company to identify, out of this amount of activity, how many of these are leads and how many of them converted, if they want to manage that on their side. And from there, that's really where they take over. On your side, you measure it to this level. Now, that's a long way of saying it, but does anyone have any questions about that or reservations about the categorization of lead tracking that I'm about ready to dive into? Reason why I bring this up, while you might be thinking about your questions, is because this is the kind of conversation I get into with a lot of new people coming into the industry that want to sell digital marketing. And they like to really pinpoint and say, oh, well, how many of the phone calls were leads, or how many of them paid? And they want to drill down on it and get down real deep. And then I end up asking them, okay, but if you want to drill down on all of these and manage their lead pipeline, if you will, and clarify each one of these as a lead, that takes human power, that takes manpower. And are you going to get paid to do that? Are you going to provide staff to do that? Are you going to monitor what the client's doing? And different local clients are going to have different CRM systems, and a lot of times they don't want you to have access to that. So let's then talk about, I'm going to go through each of these fairly briefly on call tracking, form tracking, live chat tracking, why I recommend having all three of them set up on a marketing campaign. Most will only do the forms, and I want to talk about that. And then I'll talk about how to review the lead tracking information and general reporting to help with client retention on whatever interval, and how else you can help out yourself out with client retention. How often are you meeting with the client? Are you sending the weekly mailers out, for example? And while I do that, has anyone ever white labeled the ability to send out emails and reports using your company's email address from the dashboard? I'm just asking for the support link on more information on how to white label the emails that are going out from the system, so I can get that over to you. Okay, let's talk about, I'm going to dive in first to call tracking, and then I'm going to dive into form tracking, then I'm going to dive into live chat, and then I'm going to come back and go over the overview. And let's see if I can get any co-commentary here. I'm feeling a bit bland here. If anyone wants to come on and co-commentate, let me know. Blaine, if your microphone's working, if you feel like coming on and making any comments. Or Catherine Maxwell, you're always on here. That's awesome. Okay, I'm being told to white label the emails going out that's handled by project managers, but let me. Get that info. Okay, Blaine, I assume you're testing your mic. All right, so let's go into call tracking. While I'm in here, I do want to point out, for me, I think that having the ability to crack open a demo if you're in an in-person client meeting, particularly on a laptop, you could do screen sharing, but to show them your system and how you track things, I think that's really impressive. Catherine, Blaine, you're unmuted in case you'd like to co-commentate at all. And
I'm right here.
Hey, Blaine, how you doing, bud? Blaine, have you ever set up call tracking in any system?
No, I haven't. So I don't have a lot
I know
to
you
say
have
to you.
marketing clients. Have you ever had a client ask you to set up call tracking or ask how you track conversions?
No.
Well, the day will come. How about you, Catherine?
Yes, I have.
Have you used agency platform call tracking or?
No, I did it before I came on board with Agency Platform. And I'd love to know more about how we do it within the system.
Okay, cool. So to introduce call tracking, first of all, it's a phone number that wherever it's put gets tracked. So if you put a call tracking number on the client's website, it's going to forward to their primary phone number. And so if you wanted to track the difference between a phone call from the website versus a phone call from their Google My Business listing versus a phone call from their Yelp page or press release, you'd have to generate a different call tracking number. And what I recommend to not overwhelm people with multiple call tracking numbers is to at least do one and put it on the website at a bare minimum. Some people put the exact same call tracking number on anything they do in digital marketing for the client, and I wouldn't argue with that. If you want to take credit for it. So for example, it would be, you could put the same call tracking number on everything, any press release that goes out, any directory that's created, and on the website. So you either have one or you'll have multiple. And that call tracking number is going to forward on to the client's primary phone number, so that when you're advising your client, that's the main thing they want to know. Am I going to have to change my phone number? Is this going to cause me a hassle? And because they're going to be thinking about all their different t-shirts they printed or business cards or their billboard or whatever, and you let them know, no, you keep the same phone number. We're pretty much forwarding it on, but it allows us to track. And that's how simple
comment,
it
by
is.
the way, Paul.
Yeah, what's that, Blaine?
I do have one comment in that I recall on the plumbing website that I worked on, they had, I put in some code from some company called CenturyLink or something like that. And so every time somebody went to a page, the number up the top of the website would change, so that the number that people would call would appear to be different depending on what, who it was and when they happened to be there. And then that way they could track differently what number did it actually come in from. So that was different. But the actual main number of the company was always the same for local SEO purposes. So we had that system set up. That was pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it's actually really easy to do. And from within this system, of course, the project managers would handle setting it up and getting the phone number where it needs to go. So you actually don't need to do anything other than, communicate.
Yeah.
Whenever it says on source here in the dashboard, again, I'm inside one of the demo accounts. You see that source says YouTube, maintenance line, mail, and Bing paid. That would be 4 different call tracking numbers. So I want to point that out, because I think a lot of people get confused by thinking, oh, well, with one call tracking number, I can track phone calls from anywhere. No, you would need 4. Average call duration by source. Again, if to break it down by source, you would need more than one call tracking number. Otherwise, all the other information is solid in there. How much is one call tracking number with agency platform? I forget. I think it's like $15 a month for the first call tracking number, and $3 to $5 a month range for each additional one. So to me, the cost is pretty negligible, and it gives you call tracking. So whenever I dive into call tracking, you'll see new versus repeat call detail. So, I mean, for the conversation of, oh, well, how do you differentiate a lead from not a lead? Well, you could at least consider new phone calls coming in to be more indicative of a lead. And then, of course, a repeat call by source. You need more than one for that. But let's talk about call source. So if you do have more than one call tracking number, you can bring it in by call source. And you don't have to do this, but my gosh, it's so easy to set up. All you would do when you check out on a campaign is let the project manager know how many call tracking numbers you want, and then you can track as many sources as you want. For me personally, for local SEO, I would definitely use one and put it on everything. But if you want to track different sources, for me, part of it would depend on the client's existing marketing efforts. Like, for example, maybe they would tell me they get a lot of traffic from a satellite site that they have, and maybe they're running, if you're running a paid advertising campaign in parallel with an SEO campaign, you might want to put a paid advertising call tracking number on the landing pages and a different one from SEO. It just depends. But if you're ever wanting to break up call tracking attribution on where the calls are being made from, it's easy. And then, of course, you can track it. It'll let you know total calls, unique callers, and the average duration. And then call log. So call tracking is more than just, oh, well, this is how many phone calls came in. It also has the ability, optional, to record the calls. So this, I recommend when selling this to be able to say, hey, you know, part of ensuring that the traffic that I bring to you and turns into paying clientele depends on who's handling your phone calls. I mean, if I call a company and I'm interested in doing business with them, who's talking to me? I could have someone talking to me that I'm really unimpressed with and not interested in talking to again, and I could talk to someone that is just amazing and fantastic and makes me want to do business with them. Most business owners do not audit phone calls to know what's their staff like when they're talking on the phone when they're not around. And this would allow them to do that. I think it's extremely important for anyone that has any significant sales efforts to be able to audit the sales calls that are going on. And this would allow them to do that. So you can go in, see all the phone calls that have come in, and then you can also add comments to each one. If they wanted to pay you to audit these, you can play the phone call recording. You can also, of course, activate this interface within the client side dashboard so that you can show your client how to get in here and see all their own phone calls and recorded phone calls. So it's more than just, hey, you got this amount of phone calls. It's actually has the ability to be audited, and that could be a really good thing.
You can also train your customer service people. Like that plumber client of mine, they trained everybody to say certain things to get the message out. You know, they try to lock down their message a little bit, and then they can listen to it back and say, for training, well, you need to improve on this.
Right. Or, you know, if they ever got in there and had a client that said, hey, this salesperson promised me this and that on a phone call, they could actually dive in here and do a search based on phone number and pull up that conversation and go through it. So there's a lot of reasons why call tracking has benefits beyond just, oh, this was a lead. Also, the total time, ring time, talk time, and hold time. That's fun. And then receiving phone numbers, right? Okay. Call tracking number breakdown. Again, this is if you had different call tracking numbers. And then an SMS log. On the SMS log, what it means is if you want to be able to accept a text message, because a lot of local businesses, you know, they don't accept text. You can send a text and the call tracking system will receive the text message and it can be dealt with from here. So not a huge feature, but it is doable. So that's the call tracking interface. I would think that for a local client to understand the ability to track where their leads are coming from and to be able to just see an interface like this would be really impressive. And I think it's a qualifiable way to, at least on a level 1 attribution tracking for lead gen, to be able to do this. Catherine, you stated that you'd set this up before for a client, not in this system, but in another system. Did you review call tracking data with the client on client check-in meetings?
The way the system worked, we got, there's Twilio or something like that gave us the numbers, and then we sent it to a call center, and the interface was awkward. It was not user-friendly, but we could access the data if we needed to. And when I did, it was very helpful to listen to how they were answering the phone, because I know that they were making some errors at the call center. But that's the system that we used, and it was about 5 years ago. And I think this is way more elegant than that system ever was. So I'm looking forward to being able to use this system.
Awesome. And hey, I just put instructions on how to white label emails going out from the system from your domain name.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that a bit later. I'm going to wrap up call tracking for now. Listen, guys, it's an add-on to any SEO campaign or any other campaign. It's going to be an add-on. I think it's $15. It's so worth it. You would have to have a client that absolutely refuses to do this to not justify doing it on your end. Look, and not only is it important for this purposes, but if it were me and I had a higher end client, I would offer with my own time to monitor their calls and give feedback on who's handling their sales calls. I would do that. Now that's bridging the lines from business consult or marketing consulting and more into sales consulting, but I know the business owner's not going to crack that thing open and get in there. And I also know how much trust I'm going to build on a monthly check-in meeting whenever I talk to, for example, the owner of the dental clinic and say, you know what? You got two girls in there that are taking sales calls, Lisa and Becky. Lisa is always monotone and, she doesn't have much enthusiasm and she doesn't try to talk about benefits to your company. I don't know, maybe she's going through some hard times in life because she sounds really sad on the phone. But the other girl is fantastic. She gets people laughing. She has an amazing personality. She's talking about all the benefits and how happy she is to see them come in. She's a keeper. That other girl, she needs some training. You got to get her out. How much bonus points am I going to get for talking to the business owner about that? Huge bonus points. And how long is it going to take me to log into the dashboard and listen to a couple of phone calls? Not long at all. So you don't have to, but I'm just saying, if you wanted to throw on top of it a consulting service for monitoring their phone calls and providing feedback, if you've got good common sense and listening to a phone call, you'd be able to provide feedback. I've done a lot of sales call audits on sales teams, and when usually the things that I end up addressing are something that every single person on this webinar could address yourself, because I'm not addressing the finer details to going from being a professional sales agent to being an expert sales agent because of a book that I read. No, it's identifying the red flags and oh no, don't do that. It's more on that level, and so okay, so that's call tracking. Yeah, Blaine.
Just my final thought on this is a great value, and I know this big time plumber that I used to work for, they would have loved having more tracking, like more ability to drill down and really understand what was going on. I don't think they had that.
Well, and I also want to point something else out. If you don't provide any of the engagement data, lead tracking data for phone calls, forms submitted, and live chats, then whenever you go to show performance to a client, if it's in an SEO campaign, how are you going to show it? Well, I brought you this amount of traffic and I had this amount of ranking improvement. Well, hopefully there was more traffic that month. And what if there wasn't a ranking improvement that month? This is SEO. There's not going to be ranking improvements every single month. I mean, there may be, but it's going to fluctuate. So I think you're really backing yourself into a corner if you're not tracking this sort of information. I also want to point out that call tracking is not just available whenever you dig inside the dashboard and just go to lead tracking and get into it. To remind you, look at the overview page here. And there is, watch may be wrong, call tracking on the overview. It's part of the total leads. So that's a combination of total calls, lead forms submitted, and live chats. This also appears in the reporting that's in the PDF style as well. So if it's not set up, it's not complete. That's another reason. So that's call tracking. And then let's talk about form tracking. So form tracking is really underrated. And I know people look at this and think, oh, well, this comes as part of the SEO campaign integrating the form tracking onto the client's website. But how important is it? Well, why do I care so much about everyone that's going to go to their contact us page and fill out a form? Does that seem silly? Does anyone really submit forms anymore, or are they just going to grab the address and go inside the storefront, or are they going to just grab the phone number and make a phone call? But the forms that are in the system can be put anywhere. I mean, preferably the client has a way of trying to capture information beyond just a contact form, right? For example, if it's a dentist, hopefully they would have some sort of a form, whether it's to, hey, submit a form here to get a chance to get free teeth whitening and, you know, a $300 an amazing electric toothbrush giveaway, something like that, right? Something that gets people to submit a form to get something in return beyond just contact us. I think it's arguable that every single local client should have something like that. You'll notice some websites give away, oh, submit here to receive this PDF or this downloadable or this video or whatever. But there's those kinds of forms as well. But then you can have forms on landing pages. So whether they're handling those landing pages internally or not, you can track those. Anywhere you can put a form anywhere online, and I want you to pay attention to this, with an embed code, you can track it, which means what? Is it possible to, when a press release is written, to embed a contact form in that press release whenever it's published? Is that possible? Depends on the publication point, but it could be. What about a blog? Whenever you publish a blog article, is it possible to embed a contact form of any sort within an article that's published in a blog? On many of them, absolutely. Particularly on the website, sure, yeah. Landing pages, what if they have satellite websites as well? Absolutely, absolutely. And for that matter, I mean, you can link to contact forms off of the social media as well. And those you could link to landing pages off the social media accounts, and those landing pages can have contact forms embedded on them. You can embed the contact form off of this, whether it's on something on lead pages or ClickFunnels or anything else. So you need to take it upon yourself whenever it comes to the lead form tracking, to think, okay, what lead forms should we have set up for the client, and where all could we generate a new form fields anywhere that we can to improve the tracking. So you've got to put some effort into thinking about where you can put these so that you can show more progress to the client. It's going to take a little bit of mind work, a little bit of thinking, and that may be that you come up with a way to gather contact information when people are on the website by filling out a form, so that you can start showing more leads coming in through the front door. That makes sense? So let's look at exactly what this does beyond just, you know, oh, you had 20 forms filled out this month. First of all, whenever the embed code is put on a web page, it tracks data on a web page level, not just on a form level, which I think is really cool. So if you had different landing pages, I mean, you could call this landing page analytics if you wanted to. It will tell you how many people that landed on that page actually filled out the form, the average time that the people were on that page. Again, this is on whatever page you put this embed code. It doesn't matter if it's on an external blog, a satellite site, anywhere it goes, it will track this data, because it's not running off of Google Analytics, mind you. Agency platform built in their own analytics tracking for this. Total leads that came through, total forms that have been created, page views versus leads, and then it gets really crazy. It breaks it down into the best hour for leads, the top cities they're getting leads from, top countries, top referring URLs that are coming into that page. So yeah, okay.
Paul.
Yeah.
So what if you're using forms, you know, created by a third party, like email vendor or something, and you're putting those, embedding those into your web page? Is there, I mean, are you putting a code into those forms, or these are for forms that you create strictly from agency platform?
Yeah, so, well, I've dealt with this on my own quite a bit, but Blaine, if I understand correctly, what you're asking is, what if, for example, on the client's website, you have configured MailChimp or Aweber, and someone goes and fills out that contact form, and it's going to populate their information into Aweber or MailChimp, maybe kick off an email drip campaign or something with some marketing automation. And is what you're inquiring about is that if that's already set up, then how would you set this up? Is that what you're asking?
Sort of, yeah. I was thinking of, for example, Activecampaign or something. I mean, I see some forms that says marketing by, let's say, Activecampaign or something. So I'm wondering, but I like looking at what we're looking at right now, and I'm just trying to make sense of it.
So I'm not sure exactly the proper way to go about it. I know on my own sites, I have oftentimes had to configure that one contact form submits the information to more than one system. So for example, maybe when a contact form is filled out, I want it to populate in Infusionsoft, but I also want it to populate inside of MailChimp. And when I have that situation, I have my developer handle it, and he works his magic and gets that fixed up. I don't know if project managers from Agency Platform are able to do that. I'd have to inquire. But there is I have seen a MailChimp built-in integration here. You're gonna have to talk to project managers about that. There's a way to do it, definitely.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I wasn't trying to
Fine.
throw a
Well, no,
monkey
it's a valid
wrench into the
question.
system.
Actually, there's a Kendall on the line here is asking me, can it be integrated with Aweber? The contact form doesn't have a way to check for humans versus robots. Please advise. That's a good point too. How much contact form submission could be robots, or how much traffic for that matter? So on a traffic level, well, good luck there. But how to check for humans? There's got to be a Recaptcha built into this. Let me see if I go to new form, if there's a way to add a Recaptcha. Select from existing form, gallery, price, website, date picker. Is there really no? It should have the. If it doesn't, if there doesn't, Kendall, if you're sure it doesn't have the ability to have the Google robot checker built into it, let me know, because that's easy to develop, and it's something that I can pass over. Kendall, do I have permission to look at that web page in front of everyone? Okay, well, let's take a look. Miss Piggy's Smokehouse.com. It's a heck of a name. Well, that's thinking. I don't know why it wouldn't. Maybe it's my, sorry, let me try it over here. I don't know why. Okay. So it says Best Barbecue, Miss Piggy Smokehouse. So where's the contact format, Kendall? Is this the one at the bottom of the homepage? I assume so. Yes. And are you getting spam on this and having this issue right now? Have you brought this up with project management? And what'd they say? All right, well, I'll make a note on that. Oh boy, this is an easy fix, so. Okay, Kendall, I'll get on that for you. They should be able to knock that out in a really short period of time. So on the, let's look at the actual forms, a form that's been generated. This one, for example, has had a lot of activity. So this is the particular form, right? And whenever someone comes in and fills out a form, you'll have the name, company name, phone number, date created, and then you could leave a comment here. Now, you do have the ability to do a bulk export on this, right? So I know it's a bit cumbersome, but if the client did have a CRM system that they wanted to populate this into, and there was not a native integration, you could do a bulk export and upload into an external CRM system. And I'm trying to figure out, I know that I've seen somewhere the ability to integrate this with MailChimp, and I'm just not sure where. Anyhow, aside from seeing the leads inside of there, you'll also be able to see deep form analytics on an individual form, which is going to let you know things like the amount of traffic that hit that page, how many converted, how many people actually filled out a form, how long did they stay on the page, etc. So that'll give you your form analytics. And then we have live chat. As soon as I get it to load up, for whatever reason, I have an issue with Firefox. So the live chat, look, if the client has an existing live chat on their site, this is going to be a harder sell to get them to put the live chat on their website. And the reason why is because the live chat interface that we offer is fairly entry level, I would say. I mean, compared to some really complex systems like Drift and Intercom, right? But what it does do is once it is installed, it's going to be able to show you how many people instigated live chat and how many chats were dropped. And then, of course, if no one's available, it would just let them know, oh, well, you know, it'll grab their contact information and let them know that a representative will be in touch with them. But it's another touch point, another way to document engagement, and you can log in to chat. So it has a live chat login and management interface where the client can log in and manage live chat. It's a feature that can be offered. It comes for free with SEO campaigns, and I would recommend to at least get it installed, particularly if the client doesn't already have a live chat platform on their website. They might as well have one. Even if they're not going to log in and manage it live, they can grab contact information and let them know that someone will be in touch. It's better than nothing. Yeah, correct, Blaine, like you said, but companies pay monthly for this type of service for a chat platform, so that's value added by agency platform. Absolutely, and a lot of local businesses are not hip on the idea of manning live chat on their website. You really don't have to. The main point is when you get the live chat set up, the form tracking and the call tracking, you're able to, on your reporting, have auto-populated the calls, the forms, and the live chats that have been instigated. And this gives you a different topic matter to talk about aside just from, let's look at rankings and traffic. I like to focus on their leads. And then if you also offered, for example, some consulting on the sales side, if you did, I think it's smart to, where if you wanted to be able to listen to reps' phone calls and talk to the owner about how that's going, or if you even offered a third-party CRM system. How many of you have ever had a client that you're talking to, and if you are talking to them about what kind of leads you'd bring their way, and you realize that, oh, wow, so when you get a lead that comes in and calls you, you don't have any way to track that. Or when someone fills out a contact form on your website, it literally just emails you and you have no management system. And the same for live chat. If you need to get back to someone, you have no lead management system, you have no sales pipeline, you have no sales CRM, you're completely disorganized, and therefore you have no tracking on sales at the same time. How many of you ever ran into a client that's their structure? That's how they handle it. It's very disorganized. I'd say the majority of local businesses are that way. I don't know if I'd say that they're down to paper and pen. Some of them are. At best, a lot of them are using a spreadsheet, maybe. So by having this sort of lead data, being able to check in on this, because by the way, did you know that this lead information, if the client has downloaded the mobile app, they can get push alerts to their cell phone when they have a new lead? Did you know that? But then what happens to that lead? I would recommend that whoever's manning their sales downloads that app and manually populates that data over to their CRM system. How many people have never seen the app that comes with the agency platform? Or didn't know that your client could use the mobile app? Or didn't know that whenever there's particular updates that would make you look really good to your client, that it sends them push notifications to their app if they download it? If you've never seen the app, you definitely should. For client retention, it's going to be really nice to give your client a push notification when they get a new lead. That'd be great. From here, if you wanted to be able to advise the client in more detail on how they're managing their leads, etc., I recommend advising the client to be running off of a CRM system for themselves. And by the way, and thank you, Justin, here's information on the mobile app. So check it out, guys. Okay. Before I jump into overall lead tracking and client check-in meetings to go over this stuff, if your client does not have a lead management CRM system, what are you going to do? I mean, is it really any of your business if you're just going to send them traffic and it's their responsibility to convert the leads? But what if they don't even have a CRM system? What if they don't have a way to manage their own leads? Well, is it going to impact you? Well, it might, particularly if you're sending them leads and traffic and they have no way to manage it. And so it ends up in producing horrific lead conversion for them. And in the end, it's going to impact the client. How? They're going to see less of an impact on their company as a result of the marketing efforts because they're not even tracking their leads to help them convert. So at a bare minimum, I recommend that you advise your clients to get a sales CRM system in place. Has anyone ever sold or recommended a lead management or sales CRM system to their client to use before? Ever? Anybody? No? By the way, Kendall, you're unmuted if you ever want to talk. Client CRM systems are important. One of the main reasons why agencies do not recommend lead management and sales CRM systems to their clients is because, one, you don't have a workflow as service for it. Two, you're not willing to set it up for the client, and you probably do not understand a particular system well enough to do that. And then it's tedious. But the client can set it up on their side or have the responsibility put over to them. Now, if you wanted to recommend a sales CRM system and a marketing automation system to your client underneath a white label that you can resell to them, and even in fact, you could populate drip email campaigns and drip text message campaigns and have that replicated from one client to the next in case you specialize in a particular niche, and it would so happen that from one plumber to the next, you could use a similar drip campaign. I would recommend using Activecampaign. Activecampaign is a lead sales CRM and lead management system with white label and reseller capabilities. It's ridiculously cheap, and you can resell it. You can resell the accounts. It can rival the complexity and capabilities of Salesforce. Infusionsoft, it beats. It can rival HubSpot, and it's really affordable, and it's not pinned down to a per user basis. You can white label it, you can offer it. So as another way to make money, I'd recommend looking into them. And then if you wanted to get into any sort of a lead or sales consulting with a client and collaboration with marketing, that's where it would cross over at. And that's, I think, for most marketers, undebatable, the #1 system to be reselling and white labeling, and can make you good money reselling. Okay, so let's say that you have set your lead management set up, and then you have your overview. So from the overview, you have the calls, forums, and live chats. Yeah. From here, you'd be able to dive into it, and of course, the reason why I bring up a lead management system is because if you're going to be going over at least some of this data with the business owner on a monthly basis, let's say, aren't they going to want to talk to you at least a little bit about how they should be managing these leads? Or, should they manage their leads from inside of here, or should they pull them into a CRM system? My recommendation is that whoever's managing their sales and stuff is manually populating a CRM system. And I don't think that that's clunky. I don't think that it's unreasonable. I think that, look, you've got form submissions coming in from forms, you've got live chats that have been instigated and phone calls coming in. If any of those are leads, it should be manually populated into a CRM system. That's pretty standard workflow. It needs to have human eyes on it, and then it's populated over to a CRM. And I think it will help you with client retention if your client is at least using a lead management system that will help them to convert their leads. Hey, that client makes more money off of your marketing, and they're more apt to stick around, correct? So in your back pocket, at least keep the name Activecampaign. You can set it up, you can resell it, you can make money on it. And in my opinion, it's the best system that's out there for me. Okay, now let's talk about whenever we look into SEO reporting. So I'm going to go to reports. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about the weekly reports. Open weather. Well, it's going to open. Okay, so I like weekly SEO reports because it's just a touch point. For a client to hear from you once a month, they could have, they could be teeter-tottering on wondering, oh, well, what's going on, especially the more money they're paying you or the more desperate they are for marketing. The longer you go without talking to them, the more concerned they may get. Why? Because they have no visibility into what's going on at all. Zero. And just assume they're not going to be logging into their dashboard. Assume they haven't downloaded the mobile app and they're not getting updates, which means they're going to need to get a report from you. At least the weekly reports is going to give them an overview on their keywords with some links to download and more in depth pending issues, so that they see that work is going forward, and they may have reminders in here on things that are outstanding from them. Visibility reporting, just letting them know how many directories are in for visibility, their reviews and reputation. Update, which is really important for local SEO purposes. Mentions overall sentiment analysis on the web. And then here you go. Call tracking. New calls, repeat calls, and then you can even have data on here from the other types of lead tracking. So having those things activated will impact the weekly reports that go out, which is why you need to really put some consideration into offering and setting up all 3 different types of lead tracking so that it's on your reporting. It's going to help you with client retention. A lot of people don't think about that. That's why you need it. It can show up on your weekly reporting. It'll show up on your monthly reporting. It shows up on the dashboard. It shows up on the mobile app, and it makes you look really good. And it's important to show this sort of activity to the client. So why wouldn't you set up call tracking? And if you can, the live chat, just get it set up unless they already have one that they're actively using. They should at least get it set up. They don't have to man it. They don't have to log in. They just capture leads from there. It's like a contact form, but it's more appealing to get people to fill out. So that's the weekly reporting. Now, can you have the weekly reporting set directly from the dashboard to the client? Yes, you can. Can you white label your email address from the system so that when the client gets the weekly reporting from the dashboard, that it's coming from your domain name? Yes, you can. So you have a weekly touch point with the client on the weekly reports, which is huge. Do that. It's a huge recommendation that I have for client retention. And I emphasize that with, you need to have the lead tracking activated in the form of call tracking, the forms integrated everywhere you can, form tracking integrated everywhere you can get them, and then also have it set up with the live chat so that you get as much engagement as you can possibly show in an effort to retain your client and show them that there is positive activity that's happening. And then activate the weekly reporting and get it set up with your white labeled email to be sending out directly to the client. You got weekly touch points. And if the client's willing to, motivate them to download the app, which is a brand neutral app that will give them updates when they have a new lead and when there's momentum going on with the campaign. These are all things you can do for client retention that once they're set up, it's all automated from there. But it's a setup, and it's going to take a little bit of work on your part to coordinate, but it needs to get set up, and it could make a giant difference in client retention. And then let's look at the monthly SEO reporting. And while I'm looking at monthly SEO reporting, we'll talk a little bit about how often should you schedule client check-in meetings. So the weekly reporting is short enough and easy enough to digest to not require a phone call or an explanation. It's simple. It's really short. It's not technical. And it's something that every client will be able to digest on their own fairly easily. Now, the monthly report is a completely different story. The weekly report is what? 2 to 4 pages. The monthly report, this one's 27 pages. This is one that if I send it out to the client, you may want to let them know that, hey, when I send you out the monthly report, it's going to be long, it's going to be extensive, and I recommend that you let me summarize your monthly reports with whatever updates you said you'll give to them on a monthly basis over the phone or through screen sharing so that they don't get overwhelmed. I would not send this to a client and expect them to digest this on their own or take the time to. And to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't want them to. I don't want detailed questions from my client on a 27-page report. Do you know how long it's going to take me to answer all their questions if they're going to be responsible for being able to digest this thing? I don't want to. I want to be able to present this to them. So if you do send this out to them, I would let them know that, hey, in the same sentence, here's your monthly report, and this is for me to go over with you. I wouldn't attempt to digest this on your own. Let's do a phone call. Let me go over this with you and brief you on campaign updates so that they don't think that they need to digest this and get through it on their own. Now, I do recommend with your clients having a monthly check-in meeting to go over their campaign. Whenever it comes to client retention, I think it's important to manage the client's expectation of how much availability that you will have with them. When you only have a few clients, it really, it doesn't make a huge impact on you or your business if you've got clients reaching out and calling you anywhere, anytime. But as you get bigger, and once you get more than 10 consecutive campaigns running, it's going to throw you off your game when you can receive a phone call from a client at any point in time. If you get bigger, and I would say definitely if you've got more than 10 campaigns or 15, I would bracket out your support to say, hey, here's my support ticketing interface. If you have any immediate issues or need help, please submit a support ticket or leave a voicemail to the support number or whatever, and we will get back to you within X amount of time, and then we have our scheduled monthly check-in meeting. Because you need a, first of all, you'll get more respect if you present your time as if it's worth a lot of money, which it is. But second of all, it also helps you to categorize your support hours. And by doing that, what do I mean? I mean, you don't have to worry about clients complaining because you had meetings all day long and you were not able to respond to an issue that they had and they've been trying to call you. Well, let them know, hey, I have a support ticketing system here, and you need to submit a support ticket. We have our monthly phone calls. This is how it operates. That should be perfectly fine for you. So in terms of a support ticketing system, anyone want to give any shout outs on what recommendations for support tickets? All of you should have set up, if you have more than 5 clients, you should have a support ticket system. Any recommendations? Kendall says Zendesk. Zendesk is nice, but it costs money. I have tested the features because I use Zendesk and Freshdesk. I've tested the features on Zendesk, their lowest paid service, which is per user, versus free Freshdesk version. And the free version of Freshdesk I prefer over the lowest paid version of Zendesk. So that's my shout out on support ticketing systems. Freshdesk free version beats the lowest paid version of Zendesk, and I've tested this extensively. One thing that kills me about the paid version of Zendesk at the lower level, you know, if you have tickets open between you and your client, Zendesk does not obviously show you who was the last party to respond. So if there's an outstanding communication, whether it's from you or the other person, it doesn't show that. You have to pay for an upgrade to get that. That just kills me. That's included in the free version of Freshdesk. So is their knowledge center. You go into Freshdesk, and whenever they start you out, you know, they're going to give you like this trial that expires, and then they try to get you to pay. Don't. Look, the free version comes with an email channel, which means you can give a support email out to all of your clients to say, hey, if you need to contact us for support, you can put this on your website and give it to them. Email whatever, support whatever at freshdesk.com. And whenever they send an email there, it's going to log it as a support ticket, and then it can be handled professionally. They also have a basic phone channel, basic social channel, basic chat channel, and a full-blown knowledge base with unlimited agents within your company to be assigned to, which means that VA or project manager or your business partner, all of you get access at an agent level for free. And there's even a knowledge base start trial. It's all free. I migrated over from paid Zendesk to the free Freshdesk because free Freshdesk beat Zendesk. So that's a big tip for anyone. Okay, now let me get back to the monthly SEO report. I do recommend setting up monthly check-in meetings with your client. And how do I recommend doing this? Well, I recommend setting on a recurring calendar that you'll have a check-in meeting with that client. Now, whenever you set meetings with clients, I recommend that you have a meeting scheduler. Yeah. And what does that help with? Well, so you don't have to go back and forth to organize a meeting. They can just choose from your calendar when to schedule with you. But also it's important because if they need to cancel or reschedule, they have a direct link to be able to do that. And it helps. So whenever you're setting monthly meetings, you would normally take the initiative and verbally communicate to set up a monthly check-in meeting with the client. But you need to have an easy way that when they get their meeting reminders, that there's a quick link there to say, oh, and by the way, if you need to reschedule or cancel, do it right here so that they can reschedule with you and not have to contact you or email you and start asking you, oh, I'm not able to make the monthly meeting, but I'm available next Tuesday at 5 a.m. Are you? And then it bounces back and forth, and it's a hassle. As opposed to if there was simply a reschedule link on the meeting reminder, they could click, and when they click it, they see your schedule, and they rebook with you and let you know why they needed to reschedule. Just get it set up. Once it's set up, it's done. It's so easy to do. Does anyone have any shout outs on meeting schedulers that can be utilized? Anyone? I use Calendly. If you want a really professional one that organizes all the people in your company, you can use Schedule Once. Calendly does have a free version. If I go to pricing, basic is $0, and it gives you the basic Calendly meeting scheduler link, and that's all that you would need. Yeah, Kendall's giving a shout out saying he uses Calendly. So get Calendly set up in there. And then once you have your monthly check-in meeting set up, I would be prepared to screen share to go over this, but I would not. I would use the monthly report as a talking point, and I would not sit there mechanically and technically talk about this report. You're going to make a giant mistake if you open this 27-page report on a meeting with a client and just start going into a robot mode. For example, I'd open it and say, okay, well, to start the presentation, I'm going to go over SEO rankings, on-page optimization, off-page optimization, article writing, social media reputation monitoring for the SEO campaign report between January 2018. Now, let's get started. And then you dive into it, and my gosh, you'll just start explaining everything because you're nervous and you don't know what to talk about. And then you just start diving into this trench of information. And that's probably worse than anything. This should be talking points, really, and it should be a natural conversation. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'll go through this exactly the way I would with a client. I'd come into it and say, and first of all, I wouldn't start the meeting by talking about this report. I'd start the meeting with a couple notes that I have on highlights that I want to talk about. And I would have already gone through the report, and I would already have things I want to talk to them about, and that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm not just going to crack this report open and go over it. I'm going to know what I want to talk about. I would have taken some time and studied the report ahead of time. I would look at their leads. I'd look at what has positive momentum. I'd look at what makes me look good, and that's what I want to talk about. And then if there's other things I want to talk about, I will know so that whenever I get this report opened, I'm going to just scroll to the areas that I want to talk about. I'm going to skip the overview. On the areas of concern, if there are things that the client I need from the client that they're held up on, I'm going to only address those. Everything else, I'll leave alone. So if I'm going to say, hey, and by the way, I still need your Facebook access and your Twitter access, and they say, okay, and I say, all right, that's all I'm going to address. Leave the rest alone and pick and choose your battles. I wouldn't commentate on everything if there's a lot. And then on page optimization, what's done and what's not. Again, if this doesn't concern them or it's not held up on their side, I wouldn't address it. And by the way, if you have a project manager that you're dealing with or another point of communication that you're dealing with this stuff on the client side of the company and it's not the business owner, then I'd skip this. For example, maybe you're dealing with the front desk representative, and that's the person that's responsible with getting you the social media access and approving on-page stuff. Okay, well, I would only talk to the business owner if you're having problems with that individual getting things done, and otherwise I wouldn't even bring it up. It's the business owner. Search engine rankings, on this, I would talk to them more about the keyword overview at the higher level. And if you want to point out a couple keywords or trends, I would, but I would not sit here and go through all the keywords. There's a lot. I would pay attention to the overview and then scroll through it. Visibility, I would just remind them on the visibility score. The directories are still up. We monitor these, as you know. It's part of the ongoing service to make sure that all your business information is matching and that if any directory goes down or does not index with your information anymore, we know that. So your directory and your local presence is still looking good. And then on their reviews, if there's anything in reviews you want to point out, okay. If not, I would not. The mentions section, I would talk to my client about the mentions a little bit. What's the mentions? Well, mentions are simply we're getting alerts to know any publication, any new web page that's been published that has their company name on it or other combination of names, which you can actually customize. So did you know that in mentions, you can set up what words we're looking for to populate what's in this section? Probably didn't know that. You can go to the mention sections of your dashboard and edit this in settings. And why do I say that? Well, it's going to be by default set up for their company name, right? But what if you also would like to set it up for the business owner's name? Maybe it's an attorney and they advertise their own personal name more than the company name. Well, you can edit it to also pick up that as well. Or if they had a sister company you want to populate it with. And then it's going to pick up mentions based on new published web pages. And who, pray tell, would you think is publishing all those new web pages? You are. And the SEO campaign, whether it's the infographic or whether it's the PDF in a slide share or whether or not it's a press release or a blog post or whatever it is, that's what's going to get picked up here. So I love the overall mentions and sentiment analysis because really it's just a cool way of reporting on the work that you're doing, honestly. Social bookmarking. So this is where it gets into this into the work report portion. This is what I would start glazing over. If they want to know work done, okay, but otherwise I'd skip over this. Social media submission, heat map imaging, unless they want to talk about it, I'd skip over this stuff and let them know that you're looking at it and studying it. But don't get confused that you can't present this report in a format where it's like, oh, well, if I don't cover everything that's on this report with a client, then it just seems like to my client, like I'm sure it appears to my client as if it's a complete waste of time. I mean, why would I have a 27-page report if it's not applicable to the client? This is the client reporting. Isn't it all applicable to the client? Shouldn't I be reviewing every page and everything on here with the client? No. If I was talking to a client and I didn't feel like diving in and explaining to them what the scroll map imaging is, or what the confetti report is, or what the heat map imaging is, I would let them know that this reporting comes to us and we look at it to make sure that people are clicking where we want them to be clicking, and to let them know that this report is not just for them, it's also for us. So we've already gone over this and it's not something you need to review. Everything looks great. And the work report that's come back, everything's on schedule. And let's drill down to things that you may want to know, like the call track, like the lead generation information that would be more towards the bottom of the report, and some of the traffic information that would be on here as well. So that's where I would focus some of the conversation. If you're seeing noted ranking improvements, if you're seeing noted traffic improvements from the dashboard, and keep in mind, if you're screen sharing, it's not just the monthly report that you'd be going over. I would crack open the dashboard as well, so that on the overview, you have stats on the business insights as well that you can talk about. All traffic that you can talk about as a trend. So I would take a look at that and if there's improvements. And keep in mind that you have the Seo Kpi reporting. And this is something that I would at least run a quick check on. And if I see a decent amount of positive momentum, I want to present it. So let's say, for an example, you want to do a check on the last 30 days on KPI reporting. I would switch from my monthly SEO report, if I'm done with it and covered what I want to cover, which might not be everything, to KPI reporting if I just want to bring up talking points. By the way, just to let you know, the amount of page views on your site in the last 30 days is up by 1,000. Estimated total traffic over the last 30 days is up by 566. And then if there's other things you would want to talk about, impressions are down, you might not want to talk about that. Twitter followers are up by 2,265. And then there's paid advertising stats on here as well. So if you want to screenshot some of this stuff and present it in a screenshot separately, you can do that. Main point on the monthly check-in meeting, I would use the monthly reporting, and then I would also scan through my overview on my dashboard, and I would jump into the SEO KPI reporting, and I would look for positive momentum trends, and I would present those. And that's the monthly meeting. Now, what happens if the client doesn't make the monthly meeting? Well, you need to send them a summary email. And I like when people do videos. I like it a lot, and I say, why not? If you're going to do a phone call anyways, and you're going to go over the certain details of the work report and highlight some positive momentum trends on the SEO KPI reporting, and you're going to talk to them and give them a nice clean summary, why not just do a video if they missed the meeting? So one of my main points out there, if you want to retain your clients and they don't make their monthly meeting, don't get lazy and just say, well, oh, well, you didn't make your meeting. You didn't even cancel or reschedule with me. So why? I don't need to chase you down. Why would I? Well, because you'd like to retain them. Do a video. Look, you should have prepared for the meeting anyways. You should have looked at their stats. You should have looked at the monthly reporting. Do a video. Just do a screen sharing video. And I recommend doing screen sharing on a video that also has you on camera. I think it's important to be personal. So you can do a screen sharing video that will have you on camera that you can send over to them. And you would summarize their reporting and send it. It's really easy. Has anyone ever done a video recording of reporting to send to their client because they didn't meet with you? Anybody ever done that? Ever? Kendall says, yes, it works well. Dan says, yes. Blaine says, no. I have had some amazing videos sent to me that were reporting overviews for the clients. I wouldn't get too crazy, guys. What I would do is I would certainly make sure that I have my video. If you just want to do screen recording and send it over, you can. Anyone want to give shout outs on screen recording software that's free, that when you're done recording it loads it online? Kendall says Zoom. Zoom is cool. Screencast-O-Matic, says Dan. I've used that, Screencast-O-Matic. Camtasia isn't free, but it works. I do not like Camtasia. I'm sorry. I cannot stand Camtasia, Blaine. Are you using Camtasia?
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to, okay. This is if you want a video editor that will do everything for you and is way easier to use than Camtasia, I recommend Movavi. You can do a download for free. If you do pay for it, it's ridiculously cheap. It's a one-time payment, and I think it's like $80. I'm trying to find the cost, but Movavi. I can't tell you how cool Movavi is. I've been using it for a long time. It's really cheap. It does everything. And if you're able to, edit a video real quick, I mean, Movavi, you click a button and it will record your webcam and put your video on there, like Camtasia. It will record your screen. And if you know how to do this, it's almost as fast as using Screencast-O-Matic or Zoom. It's just a learning curve. And then once you do that, if you wanted to splice in a little clip and a logo intro from your company, it just gives it a really big professional oomph. You guys know what I'm talking about when you do a logo introduction?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kendall, get Movavi. You're going to thank me. I've used every video editor that's out there except for Mac because I don't do Mac at all. But video editors, oh man, Movavi is so cheap. If anyone can look into that, how cheap is Movavi? It is so cheap. I download for free. Oh, buy now.
Oh, another one is called Jing. I probably used that in the past.
Jing. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Video converter, the video suite. So when you get Movavi, get the personal video suite. It's $79. Best thing you're ever going to do. And it comes with everything: a split movie media player, screen recorder, video converter, video editor. I bought Camtasia. Shouldn't say this, but I have used download links over the years to versions of Camtasia that did not require being paid for. And whether I bought Camtasia for the highest price I could, or I sought out links that did not require paying for, I always had bugs. It always crashed on me, and it has that ridiculous Camtasia encoding on it that I don't like as well. And also to load it in, like if you, well, I'll stop there. Movavi's never crashed on me. I love it. And I've installed it on like 4 different PCs. Okay.
Well, I made videos before Camtasia, but I forget what I used. It was some Mac program that was cheap. But then I got Camtasia cheap. But yeah,
Movavi
I'll look
looks
into
like
this
Camtasia,
Movavi.
but it's easier to use. I mean, if you have been using Camtasia, Movavi, and Blaine, hit me up, or Kendall, feel free to hit me up. I might have a license because you can install it on multiple PCs that you could use. But for example, I mean, this is just Movavi. I click edit video, record computer to screen, split video, convert video, and by the way, it's a lot faster than Camtasia too. I don't know why it's not known. I did a lot of searching to find this. And check this out. Oh, geez, stop. Does this not look like Camtasia? So if I want to record screencast, all I've got to do is click there. I'll drag it on this screen, and I'm recording my screencast immediately. So that's how fast it is, just like Camtasia. Only it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot cheaper, and it works a lot better. And then what I would do is, if I want to be able to record my face talking and put it in the bottom corner or whatnot, all I have to do is click to enable the webcam. And if I had someone else talking and I wanted them talking and recording, I just enable system audio. I hit record, and when I'm done, I'm done. And then if you wanted to splice in a logo intro, that's, yeah. Logo intros, they go a long ways. And what do I mean by a logo intro? I mean, oh boy, let me get out of this. There's a software out there that can do logo intros that are really, all it is a logo intro. It literally can take 4 minutes to do on an editor. This is just, you can go on Fiverr and pay someone $5 to do a logo intro video clip that you drag onto your video every time you send it out to a client. And how long would it take to drag and drop this logo clip onto the beginning with amazing sounds? 5 seconds, honestly. Drag and drop clip to the beginning, render, done. But it takes your video to an entire new level. Like this logo introduction right here, it's all automated. And if you have the right system for this, literally within 2 minutes, all you do is load your logo in, type in the name, done, $5. So point being, when it comes to client retention, to summarize, most people are not doing the basics on what they need to do. And once it's set up, it's all done. Take the time to get call tracking input. Get the form tracking set up and on all the forms that you can to show more engagement. Get live chat set up so that you have all the lead tracking set up on the reporting, because it can populate on the weekly, the monthly, on the mobile app, and it gives you a talking point. Strong talking points. If the client does not have a lead management system to help them convert their leads and for them to identify if they have a problem converting leads, because in a marketing, whenever you get, how many of you have had clients where you're like, oh my God, I've done so much work on your marketing campaign, but all you care about is if you're making money? Well, naturally, right? So no matter how many work reports or momentum reports or whatever you put in front of them, they're just like, yeah, but I'm not seeing that I'm making more money. Well, there's 2 sides of the equation. One, here's traffic and here's engagement level that I can show to you, but on your side, you're telling me that if you're not seeing more business come through your front door, you're not going to pay me anymore. Well, if you at least have advised them to set up a lead management system like Activecampaign, which by the way, you could resell to them and make money on, and I mean decent money, then you could, if you wanted to, you could crack that thing open and pinpoint for them where their conversion process is going wrong. And if they have multiple sales agents, you can tell them who. So there's that. Recommend a lead management system to them. And then make sure that you configure the white label weekly reports to go out so that you have a weekly reporting touch point. Again, get it done. Weekly reporting touch points. And then on the monthly check-in meetings. Make sure that you have a meeting scheduler link and that you verbally set up monthly reoccurring meetings with the client that they can reschedule from a link on their own. And then if the client doesn't make the monthly meeting, do a video. I'm telling you, do a video and send it to them. Do a video and make sure that you get the video done in a timely manner and it's not done 2 weeks later. And then send the video over and let them know that you'll catch them the next month. And what does that accomplish? It means you don't have to try to track them down for the monthly meeting or write it off and say, oh, I wasn't able to get a hold of them. Boy, I hope they pay their invoice. I haven't talked to them. Do the video. And then you don't need to talk to them until the following month. You already put your time in. You did the video. You sent it over. And it wouldn't take much longer. And maybe it would take a less amount of time than if you had them on the phone. And then you don't have to worry about talking to them until the following month. So make sure that you do that. That's really important. And make sure that you take time on the monthly check-in meeting to go over the dashboard and find highlights on positive momentum. Check out the Seo Kpi tracking interface. Check their rankings. Spot check on the work report, on the monthly report, what you do want to talk about. And don't go robotic technical talking about everything. And that should help you out. I mean, really, if you're covering all those bases, then and you're having client retention issues, then we're talking about problems on a different level that I don't know what they would be, you know. So I'll wrap it up there. Does anyone have any additional feedback or comments? Catherine asked, what are my thoughts on Kartra? I do not know what Kartra is. All-in-one marketing platform. It looks like this might be something like Activecampaign.
Well, that's what I was wondering. This is the Mike Filsaime, Andy Jenkins latest creation. And I wondered if you were familiar with it and if it was as good as Activecampaign, or what your thoughts were.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from what I'm seeing, create stunning high converting pages in minutes. It looks more like ClickFunnels or
Yeah,
lead pages.
I would say it's an Infusionsoft rival. And when you mentioned Infusionsoft and Activecampaign, that's why I was curious. You know, creating
Well, my
landing
problem with
pages.
guys like Andy Jenkins and Mike Filsaime, the reason why they keep coming out with new stuff is, and instead of building like one big core company like Infusionsoft or Activecampaign, is because they're more into the promoting and launching and less into the building a big business foundation, which is why they just keep coming out with new stuff. So I would say no matter what they have there, it's not going to compete with the stability of a system like Activecampaign. Activecampaign is absolutely massive. They've been around for a really long time. Their rates are really good. So I would definitely go with Activecampaign, but also because Activecampaign, what they have that's really impressive is their sales management capabilities. This seems more like marketing automation, landing page creation stuff. The sales pipeline capabilities is really good, and the API capabilities is really good. And like Kendall says, no long-term support. So, you know, how long is this going to be around for?
Right. Okay. Good.
So I would definitely go with Activecampaign over this. I don't know a lot about it, but I don't like companies that pop up quickly and, you know, in 3 years they're on to something else that's the new biggest thing.
Okay.
That's an easy trap to get caught up in.
It is.
What else did Andy Jenkins and Mike Filsaime come out with? Did they do the webinar platform?
Yeah, Webinar Jam.
Webinar Jam. Yeah, and they pretty much just developed into the ability to broadcast webinars using Google Hangouts and YouTube. Then,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
then they
YouTube Live developed out their own capabilities, which are better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those
That's how
problems.
they got started. Mhm.
So, let's tag sequences, emails, marketing pages, videos, analytics, help desks, memberships. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine, but you can't compete with Activecampaign. Activecampaign even has a full-blown reseller interface within it. So that's what I would go with. So that's my little boot camp overview, guys, to help you out with client retention. The other thing that I would really like to give a shout out with on client retention, if you're going to offer a traffic generating marketing service, I recommend offering more than one in parallel. If you're going to offer local SEO, if they've got the budget, I recommend adding on a retargeting campaign and a little bit of display advertising if you can, so that you have more stats running than just keyword rankings, so that on your overview you can have integrated to have running a little bit of PPC data, so that you can populate with how much traffic or impressions are coming through on PPC data, if possible, is what I would recommend. Okay, everyone, thanks for being on. Thanks for helping me commentate, Catherine and Blaine. Does anyone have any shout outs on a topic matter you would like for me to cover the next time we meet in 2 weeks? Any shout outs? Any recommendations, Catherine? Anything you want me
Man,
to talk
I
about in
get
2
so
weeks?
much value out of every single call that you do, Paul. It's just phenomenal training. I hope everyone here, I'm sure we feel the same way, but this is priceless, what you teach us every couple of weeks. It really is. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I appreciate that. We are, well, hey, Catherine, I'll go to you more often. Hey, Blaine, where's all my compliments, man?
Yeah. Well, I missed the last webinar or two, so I regret that. But this was great today, and I don't know, PPC would be a good topic, but
PPC, yeah. I tell you what, I would like to, I'll just brief about before I wrap this up. I was, speaking with Malin, the owner of eBrands, an agency platform, and telling him what I would like to do is more of a weekly open Q&A, open consulting deal where we would, meet weekly and just have really more of an open forum, a less structured environment, so that, whoever is in participation can bring up topic matters that we can start going over. And then for the more organized presentation style webinars, we would schedule those for once a month and put more effort into preparing them and, structuring them to a higher degree, like having full-blown presentations and everything together. What are your thoughts on that?
So you do it twice a month. So one would be a regular Q&A and the other one would be more of a training.
Well, I would switch to weekly and just do
Oh,
open
weekly.
Q&A and open
Oh,
consulting once a week, like this, but the difference would be it would be more open forum. And then once a month, we would have the more topic matter specific presentations.
I like it.
that's fine.
Or would you prefer every other week and stick to, topic matter presentations, but with a bit less prep work and formatting?
I'd like it every week. I think it's a valuable resource.
Anyone else on the line want to give a shout out in chat? Little vote. Right now we're doing every other week. We do topic matter / a little bit of engagement. The question is to switch to weekly for more open QA and open engagement, direct consulting, and then once a month we would have the topic matter.
So do you want us to raise our hands?
Okay, I'm not used to this system, but yeah.
Okay, so we raise our hands for once a week. Everybody raise your hand who wants once a week. Okay. Put your hand down and then twice a month, the same as what we've got? Raise your hand.
Yeah, it's pretty much dead even. All right,
Okay.
well, I'll keep it every other week for now. It's less work for me, but I may want to, you know, consider, because I think weekly is a lot. I might want to consider every other week, but doing more of a, maybe we could split it up to where, you know, we would have a topic matter related, but maybe half of it would be open Q&A, open consulting type stuff, and then the other half is topic matter, and then we would have a monthly would be a different thing, so that maybe not every other month we would have a big webinar, but, you know, we'd keep it out of the series is what it would be. So it would be every other week would be the series, but then once a month would be, it'd be different. You'd have to register separately for it. We'd do email marketing campaigns out for it, probably bring out in some outside speakers and presenters, and do it up that way. So it might not be every month. Okay, awesome, everyone. Again, if you want to drop me a line, Paul at agencyplatform.com. Until then, best of luck in your agency. Appreciate y'all being on, and I'll see you all again in 2 weeks' time. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.